This video is a continuation of a previous one on fricatives, so we keep moving backward on the vocal tract, and we will start here with the palatal fricatives. This symbol here represents the voiceless palatal fricative, which is identified as the Ich laut in German. To pronounce it, you have to produce a narrowing in the middle of your mouth, in the palatal region. So that would make a constriction around this area, right? It is easier to produce this sound in coarticulation with vowel E, something like he, alright? But then obviously you can also produce it with any other sound, and you must keep that position for it, like sha, alright? Sha, asha, asha, ash. And then the voiced version of it, which is represented as this tailed J, would be ja, aja, aja, aj. Then we have velar fricatives. The voiceless velar fricative is like Spanish jota, right? So to make this, you can think of the place of articulation where you would produce a K, ka, alright? And then just, instead of making a full contact, try to make a fricative at that place of articulation. Something like ha, aha, aha, ah, alright? Instead of ka, you will do ha, aha, aha, ah. And then the voiced version, which doesn't exist in Spanish, would be ra, aga, aga, ag. Okay? Now the uvular, you can do the same. If you have already mastered the pronunciation of the uvular stop, ka, now you can do ha, aha, aha, ag, and the voiced ra, aga, aga, aga. Okay. Actually, the voiced uvular fricative usually alternates with the uvular trill in those languages that have that sound. So whenever the trilling mechanism is not properly initiated, you will probably get a fricative instead. The pharyngeals. So this sound, for example, exists in Arabic. To produce it, you have to move the body and the root of your tongue, like push it down and back, and that would make a sound like ha, aha, aha, ah, or the voiced ra, ara, ara, ara. You will realize that the lower or the more backward in the vocal tract we get, the more difficult it is to keep voicing during the fricatives, or any sound for that matter. And then the glottal is just like H, so that's the aspiration noise actually. Ha, aha, aha, ah. And the voiced counterpart, ah, aha, aha, ah. Okay? So if you look at the IPA chart, there are other symbols which are isolated because they represent places of articulation with very few examples. So it isn't worth introducing those places of articulation like in the major chart, but then you will have this section for other symbols. This is the case, for example, for the alveolo-palatal fricatives. As a matter of fact, fricatives only have one place of articulation, which is always the narrowest point in the vocal tract at that moment. So whenever you read that a fricative has two places of articulation, that's not really two separate places of articulation, like you have a narrowing in the alveolar region and then you widen and then you have another narrowing in the palatal region. So that's not the case. What this means is that you have one only narrowing distributed along all the regions ranging from the alveolar to the palatal region. Okay? So this curly tail C would be something like sha, asha, asha, ash. And then the voiced ja, aja, aja, aj. Okay? And then the same explanation would be applicable to the Palato-Alveolar Velar Fricative, which is represented with this weird H with a hook on top and a hook down. This one's actually pretty difficult to produce. That would be sha, asha, asha, ash, or something like that. Okay. And then finally, we have the epiglottis. I think that a good way to gain awareness of where the epiglottis is and what its movements are like is to swallow. So just swallow. Okay, and you feel this part here that is moving, it's folding up on the rest of the larynx, the larynx body. So that's the epiglottis, and that's the movement that you want to reproduce to produce these sounds. You have one stop version, which I included here because otherwise it would be isolated in any other random video, so it made more sense to me to treat it together with the epiglottal fricatives. Okay, so swallow again, and now you can do pa, aka, aka, ak. So that would be the epiglottal stop, right? Ka, aka, aka, ak. All right, and then you can get the fricative, the voiceless one, ha, aha, aha, ah, or the voiced one, ra, aga, aga, ag. And that'll be all for fricatives.